Hey everyone, guess who's back? It's Kamish back here with our Week 13 recap and Flex 14 preview. We've reached the last game of the regular season. I apologize for the crappy lighting today in today's video, just in another room. It's pretty cold here today, and the room I'm usually in is really cold. So, anyways, we're going to start here in Dynasty, and wow, we got some tremendous Flex 14 games coming up. The first one we got is Golden Knights taking on Memphis Devil Dogs for the division, so that's going to be one to watch. We got Killer Sheep versus Cowichan Chicken Turtles. You can see 6 and 7 versus 7 and 6 must win for both if they want a chance at the playoffs. We got the Age Crew versus No More. No More, can he stay undefeated against the second best team? And then we also got Clengy versus Finito for the international division. Must win for Finito because if he loses that, he could lose the tiebreakers on the 7 and 7 teams that will be tied. And then Swahino versus Sabatica Spartans. You can see that's pretty much for the playoffs as well. So some tremendous games here. As I mentioned, this preview is really just going to be about who I think is probably going to win those important Flex 14 games. So I'm going to get into my predictions, and these are just really quick predictions, folks. There's so much to unpack, and obviously you guys can determine who you think is going to win as well. For Devil Dogs versus Golden Knights, of course, this is for the mixed bag division. Devil Dogs is crippled by the bye. Okay, so to me, Knights takes the division, and it's going to put Memphis Devil Dogs in a really tough spot, determining who's going to get those last playoff spots tied at 7 and 7. You can see really there's only 3 playoff spots available there for those last few teams. Well, I guess technically 4. So there's 4 playoff spots, and really there's 3, 4, 5, 6 teams going for them. So 2 teams are going to be out of the playoffs, right? So one of them is going to be Swahino or Sabatica Spartans because one of those teams is going to go to 6 and 8. So one of the other 7 and 7 teams, depending on where those teams land, will also be out of the playoffs. And again, it's going to be dependent on points for. The next one, Killer Sheep versus Cowichan. I got no CMAC, no Amon Ra for Cowichan. And I think that's going to put him in some problems against Killer Sheep. And I got Killer Sheep winning that one to go to 7 and 7 just to make that tiebreaker even that much more complicated. Age Crew versus No More. Again, this one's too close to call, in my opinion. But no Bryce Young for No More, so that he doesn't have the second quarterback here in Flex 14. I think that gives him a disadvantage. And I do think even though Chase is going to go off for No More, and I do think he will against Buffalo, I think that's going to be a high scoring thriller. I think the streak ends here for No More, and so does the perfect season. I'm going out on a limb. I'm going to say Age Crew finds a way. Next game, Sabatica versus Swahino. Honestly, it's too bad for both these teams that they have to play each other, especially when you look at, I think they're 3 and 4, or no, sorry, 4 and 5 in scoring in the league. It's going to be close, but I'm going to give the slight edge to Sabatica. Usually in years prior, the slight edge would go to Swahino. This year, it's all about Sabatica and that international division rivalry between the two. And then lastly, the international division. Who's going to win the international division? It's Finito versus Clengy. It's a disaster kind of for Finn to have this game. He's got the no second quarterback, just CJ Stroud. Purdy's on the bye. And I think that disadvantage alone is going to give Clengy the division. And like I say, might very well knock Finito out of the playoffs. I am going to be comfortable awarding now No More the scoring championship prize. So look for that shortly online. Never in history has anyone had 400 and some odd points, and then also with No More getting some points as well this week. There's no chance that the Age Crew is going to have a chance at that scoring title. So congratulations again to Chris and No More. Great season for you this year. All right, next up we get the tier three, and yeah, lots happening in tier three, obviously, as you can see by looking at the standings there. I'm still undefeated at 13-0. There will be a couple of divisions decided. So first off, Hot Chuba will take on New England Turncoats. New England Turncoats was 2-1 versus him during the season, so he does get that shot to tie the record and eventually take the division from him. So that's one game. My Wife is Hotter versus Black Dog. That's another example where Black Dog was 3-0 versus My Wife is Hotter earlier this year. So Black Dog does have a chance also to take the division and try to get the playoff bye and guarantee a spot into tier two. Remember, that's a guaranteed spot. I will say this. So there's going to be six teams making the playoffs. I'm one of them. So four out of the five that make the playoffs are going to tier two. So just be ready for that, folks. Throwbacks versus Ooh Spicy for the playoffs. Both these teams didn't play each other earlier this year. Throwbacks does get a chance to try to tie the record and beat Ooh Spicy. We've always talked about that, so that's one rule that comes in for sure. I do believe I made a mistake though on the standings there. You could see Battle Street Bears. I have a 4-8, 5-8, but he's actually 4-9. He lost that game to My Wife is Hotter, so sorry I forgot to update that one. Um, but yeah, huge games there, obviously. And then the other huge game, folks, Hugh Jackson candidacy, right? Center Tiger versus Bull Eat a Bag of Nicks. The loser will be the Hugh Jackson candidate out of tier three. Okay, so just be ready for that for both owners. The reality is, look at the lowest scoring total for both. They're like 5 points away from one another. Like, can you ask for a better Hugh Jackson game? I don't think you can. And again, the loser will be the Hugh Jackson candidate out of tier three. And I'll also talk about who that bonus candidate will be out of Dynasty as well a little bit later on. Looking at previews here, so Turncoats versus Chuba for the division. You know, Bruce was online saying, "Yeah, let's go Pats for this week." Well, guess what? Your Pats are going to be your undoing next this week, and the reason for that is because they're all in the bye, and that's going to be your undoing. And I have Hot Chuba winning that division, which could put you in a big problem of even making the playoffs, which we'll get into here in a moment. Throwbacks for Spicy. This is for the playoffs. It's too close to call. I personally think whatever decision Throwbacks makes with Lamar will be the wrong one. I think it's a curse that he got him, and I'm going to go Spicy with the win here. Now, if Throwbacks beats Spicy and Chuba beats Turncoats, Turncoats, just so you know, it goes to a points four tiebreak then, and right now you're losing that to both teams, so you would be out of the playoffs. Okay, so just to make that clear, of course, the points four could change, though you're pretty close with Ooh Spicy. Okay, so just need to realize that. Dog versus Wife is Hotter. Again, this is for the division. C-Mac on the bye for Black Dog. I think My Wife is Hotter gets his first win of the year against Black Dog and solidifies his bye and guaranteed spot in tier two. Sinner Tiger versus Bo Eat a Bag and Nix for the Hugh Jackson candidacy. If Aaron Jones is out for center, I am going to say Eat a Bag Knicks wins, but he definitely needs to rely on his favorite team, Denver, to get the win because he's got a lot of Denver guys, just so he isn't the worst coach in history, Hugh Jackson, um, and doesn't get that Hugh Jackson candidacy in his first year. All right, next up, we make it to tier two here. And yeah, there's so many good matchups here and so many playoff implications. So let's just try to unpack it for you here. There is one divisional game in Flex 14. It's Silver Bullets versus Jordan McLovin it to see who wins the Canadian Division 2 title. So that's one game for sure. Can Scottish Highlanders stay undefeated against me? You could see it's 1 versus 2 in scoring with a perfect season on the line for Scottish Highlanders. I've done that a lot for each tier here, as people will see. Okay, playoff implication games. Sandusky Sandman gets the unfortunate bad luck of playing Team 14, who's been the best team in the league since we booted him. And he's projected to get a lot of points. So tough luck for Sandusky Sandman there to try to win that one to obviously stay in the playoffs. We got Purple Unis versus Morning Chuba. How big is that one, right? You could see Purple Unis pretty much hanging on to that last playoff spot. You got to think the winner pretty much will get in the playoffs. We got Van Isle Kidnas taking on Bishop Sycamore. Bishop Sycamore loses this week, puts himself in a tough spot, and now has to play Van Isle and win to guarantee his spot in the playoffs. So that's not going to be easy either. So let's just unpack the important games for you. So I got 8 Balls versus Highlanders. I think the injuries at wide receiver will likely hurt eight balls this week. So myself, I think Highlanders will stay perfect. Amon Ra, of course, is going to be out for eight balls. A couple other injuries there to track to Herbert, etc. for eight balls. So I think Highlanders does stay perfect and finds a way against eight balls. McLovin at versus Bullets. Again, this one's too close to call, to be honest. There's so many of these Flex 14 games that are just going to be thrillers. I think Bullets will find a way, though, because he bought and Jordan McLovin didn't. Um, Biscuits and Gravy versus Say My Name, the Hugh Jackson candidacy game. Okay, so you can, for all the other owners out there in tier one and tier three, you can see these are the two worst teams. The loser will be the Hugh Jackson candidate. Say My Name has no quarterback and lots of 49ers on the bye. I'm going Biscuits and Gravy's wins, and Say My Name is clearly the Hugh Jackson candidate out of tier two. Bishop Sycamore versus Van Isle Echidnas. I'm going Bishop. Van Isle has Jacoby Brissett and the Saints defense. Enough said. Sandman versus Team 14. Again, talked about Team 14 being the best team since we booted them. I hope Sandman wins. That's what I'm going to say there. Morning Chuba versus Purple Unis. Unis definitely has slowed down since she announced her retirement. But Mahomes gets a tough Texans D for Chuba. While Hurts, I think, is going to rebound against the Chargers. I am going to give this one to Purple Unis, and the bad luck season continues for Justin and Morning Chuba, and he does not make the playoffs. All right, folks. So obviously we've reached the last tier here now, and there will be one divisional game that will be decided. It's going to be myself versus my brother, or business versus 12th man for the red and white division. Two historic rivals, two original owners. And, should be a hell of a game. I will say that Billsy Bobs has won the Maple Leaf division title, so just look for that on the chat here soon. And celebrating Danny and Billsy Bobs with a Maple Leaf division title. Good job by him. We got a lot of Flex 14 games here to unpack. So of course we're going. I think it was. I think how it worked is 7 versus 11, 8 versus 10. No, sorry, 7 versus 12, 8 versus 11, and then 9 versus 10. And now this is how it's going to work, and I'll just go over the important games for you folks. And then there's one that the tier two owners are going to want to pay attention to. Okay, so first off, Horror versus 12th man for that division. I think I do have some injury issues, right? Drake London, is he going to be available? Trey Benson's still out. Matthew Golden's still out. I still got lots of guys out. Torrey Horton. So I think Brian still has a chance. He's given up in conversations I've had with him, but I do think he still has a chance. I actually hope I lose because I think my first round playoff game would be better, but I do think I'm going to win. But it's going to be closer than what Brian thinks it's going to be. Deuce versus Mother Tucker. So if Deuce should beat Kalen, okay, to lock down this at least the sixth seed for him. If I win, and the seventh seed if Brian wins. So that's where Deuce is at, 6 or 7. If he beats Kalen, and I think he will, right? Obviously, if he loses, he could fall to the eighth seed. Okay, so that's what the implications are. But I think Deuce should easily beat Mother Tucker. Next up, we got BC Lions versus Clengy. So the way this one works is if the six loses, and we'll talk about who he plays here in a moment, the winner of this game would make the playoffs. Clengy is crippled by the bye. I think Stan's going to win this one easily. And wouldn't it be funny if Stan in his retirement year, who really hasn't done much of anything with his team, I mean, he's set the lineup and he's been on waivers. That's all we can ask for. But he could legitimately have a shot still here to win money. Billsy Bobs versus No More. This is for the second seed. I'm going to make the joke here. If Bob sets his lineup, I'm going Billsy Bobs. I think he just has a better team, and I do think Jamar Chase is going to go off against Buffalo. Here's the other big game, Green Lightning versus the Six, right? So Lightning has a chance here to play spoiler on his divisional rival. If the Six wins, he gets the seventh seed if Deuce loses, or the eighth seed if the Six wins and Deuce wins. I am going to go with Lucas winning this one. It's going to be an absolute shocker. But it's a tough game for obviously the Six to get a divisional rival like this. And don't forget, Lucas was buying at the deadline to make his team better. So it's kind of a tough matchup for the Six here, but could have been a lot tougher too, right? So he has a chance to control his fate. That's all you can ask for. Next up, Finito versus Sabatica. Can Finn stay perfect? Can he keep the perfect season? He's going to have to roll with Kirk Cousins, though. Jackson Dart on the bye. Cousins is playing Seattle, one of the better defenses in the league. I think Doosan, because of that, is going to end the run. Here's my question. Is there going to be a rematch in the playoffs between these two teams? They're both really good teams. But Finito going into the playoffs with a loss, we'll see what that does to his players and his motivation. And then lastly, this is the one that Tier 2 wants to pay attention to, the survival game. So the age crew is retiring. If he finishes last, it's still only two teams moving up from Tier 2. If Too Good for a Name, because they're going to play each other here, Age Crew versus Too Good for a Name. If Too Good for a Name loses, three teams will move up and Too Good for a Name will drop to Tier 2. Huge, huge game for Tier 2 owners and huge game for obviously Too Good for a Name. Age Crew will have no quarterback. Yes, Tier 2 owners, Tier 3 owners, you heard that. It's pretty thin when you get up to Tier 1. He won't have a quarterback to address. Last week he went Brosmer, who got minus 14. Um, but Two Good's issues are well documented as well. Amon Ra gone. Samson just got hurt. Diggs will be on the bye. So Two Good's issues are well documented. Here's my prediction, though. I do feel the trade for Stafford at the deadline for Too Good for a Name actually gets him the victory here and he does survive. And Luke, I know we've been rivals in the past. I'm actually am hoping for you here. I really like Adrian and the Age Crew as an owner and glad he's sticking around in Dynasty. But the fact that he is retiring, I am rooting for you, Luke, to win this game. So, anyways, should be a thrilling Flex 14. Honestly, I don't even think I need to make this video. The games for themselves speak for themselves. But I just want to wish everyone luck here for week 14. And remember, there's always something to play for other than in Dynasty. If you make consolation, for those teams that won't make the playoffs in Dynasty, your season ends here. Okay, just so you know. But for the tiered format, the consolation playoffs are for better draft picks, right? So don't ever forget that. You got to play till the end and don't blow it. All right. Have a great Flex 14. Last week of the regular season. Should be a thriller.